Hey yo, what is going on guys? CashinClean here. So for today, I want to give you guys some tips on the depths delve. So before we actually get into it, let's prepare a little bit before we actually go inside the caves. So I'm going to show you guys with the meta characters, and then if you guys want to, you can switch things around to your liking depending on the class that you play. So in the example for today, I'm just going to use Boomeranger, Shadowhunter, and Ice Sage. My Boomeranger and Ice Sage will be for damage. Shadowhunter can be for damage, but mainly for rushing. So in order to get started, so my Boomeranger for example, I'm going to use the melee for this example for today. If you do want to do a ton more damage, I would say use the bow and then use Overstuffed Urn. Overstuffed Urn will be insane for the bosses. And if you have a group you don't really care about dealing too much damage to the boss, then you can swap out Overstuffed Urn for Blast Bow. And obviously if you're using the melee, I recommend using Cyclone, because when you use your third attack, it pulls in the enemies, the little ring around you. So it's really good. And to add the ring effect, you want to go towards the ring polisher area, which would be down in this area over here. So you would just activate it from this guy. And if you already have a ring effect active and you can't do anything about that, you're gonna have to get a new ring and then apply the ring effect that you want. And next up, you want to get Augment Buoyancy. You don't have to, but I recommend it. I highly recommend it. It's a potion effect. You do have to do a little bit of your D15 questline to even get access to it, kinda. I do have a video talking about it if you guys want to see a more in-depth guide on that. But essentially, you go to the depths delve, you go to the third depth, which is the Shadowy Vault, and you'll see a fish NPC where you can craft a buff. But before you craft that buff, you want to make sure you have this thing active, which is this Alchemistic's Insight. So you craft this, then you go craft the buff, and then you come back to the hub and you should have a recipe over here. And once you craft the recipe, you just exit this and then just look at your claims, go back to the bench, and you should see Augment Buoyancy unlocked. So it can be kind of pricey depending on the resources that you have, but you just want to craft a little bit. They last for about 4 hours. And once you have them, I'd recommend using them once you get inside the delve, just so you're not wasting any time with it. And if you do log off, your thing does stay, so whatever time you left it at. So I got 10 over here, plus I have my current one active. And then you want to make sure you have keys available. So to get the keys, you can do it in the hub or club worlds, depending on where you usually go to craft keys. You can also do it in D15, but you have the all-purpose key mold here, the depths, and then every Monday this thing unlocks. I highly recommend crafting it. And whenever you can't, then you want to go for the runic depths vaults over here. You will need a lot more key fragments compared to the regular D15 area. So you're actually losing profit when you craft these keys because you don't get extra fragments back, whereas if you do D15, you get more of the key fragments, so you can keep on crafting more and more keys. And as for the other classes, I don't really prepare too much. So for Ice Age, I don't really use anything for the ring ability, but you can use Chill Out. So basically what Chill Out does is when you're at low HP, this triggers automatically. So that's always pretty good. Either way, you don't have to use it, just an option. The other one for Ice Age also works, but it's also really annoying to deal with, so I don't really recommend it. We can go straight forward to the delve. Shadowhunter doesn't really need anything, just give him speed. That's all you need. Let's go for the max movement speed. But then we go to the depths delve, so we put down the portal, and now you can start as low as 165 instead of 170. So there's a few things that you want to look for when you're going inside these delves. So I have the quest tracker mod, I'm pretty sure this is the redesigned tracker mod. It should be this one. So you can see all the debuffs, everything going on in here. So straight off the bat, you want to look at this Everdark. Everdark is the one you want. It's still pretty difficult to fight, but how it goes is it's Everdark, then it goes Abyssal, then it goes Nightmare. And these difficulty increases just mean the enemies are going to be tougher to fight. So that's one thing to look out for. So you want to look for Everdark when you're doing these delves. It will get to Abyssal the further up you go. Just know that once you reach Abyssal, then they're going to have a little bit more darkness for their stats, the enemies, so it's going to be harder to fight them. Next, you want to look at the debuffs over here. So we got Terror. I mean, nothing too fancy so far in this one. The most annoying one in this one is Unbridled Fury. So what happens is if you kill an enemy, the other ones nearby gain max HP, so they're back to full HP, and they get stronger, as you can tell from the description there. Although this one also has Untumbrel, which means that they have reduced darkness, so they're easier to fight. So that one's really good. And then we got some physical resistance, which is kind of annoying, but if you're unsure which ones have that, I'm pretty sure it's this guy over here. Okay, it's not that guy. Everything is pretty much simple as is. You just do the objective. Everything like that is the same. But a couple things to note to make your delve experience a little bit better is you want to try grouping the enemies a little bit more. So if you have some depth charges, what you would want to do is drag the enemies. The way this is set, wait, this is the jellyfish. Okay, no, they still die. If they're physical immune, then they wouldn't die, because I'll explain that later. But pretty much it's best to just drag the enemies into a room where you can do damage. Although this example isn't that good because it's just jellyfish. You can just walk over them and they insta die. So the only way the jellyfish wouldn't die like that is if this was physical immune, because they're taking environmental damage, which is physical damage in this game. So if it's physical damage immune, then they won't die just like they did there. I don't even have to attack them. So pretty much just do it like I said. I'm just going to group them up again like so. And then if you have the vacuum, you can just pull them in. And ideally you'd want to max vacuum. You don't need completely max, but that's pretty much it. If there's like a couple enemies, you don't really have to worry about it. You can skip it, but this one seems to have a decent bit, so we'll just we'll group them up a little bit and we'll fight them. And ideally you want to do this with groups, so you have one person rushing and then the other person kind of hanging back in these lower rooms before room 6, just dealing with those enemies. I usually skip the ones with these platforms, but what you can do is you can take the enemies from the top. These ones are ranged, which is really annoying to deal with, but you can skip these if you guys really want to. But just drag all these enemies together. If you miss a couple, then so be it, it's fine. Just keep on aggroing them. The reason why you're throwing depth charges is to keep aggro. That's the main important thing. And last but not least, we vacuum, and you kill a massive group. So that is a lot faster than if I were to just go over here, kill one enemy like this, he dies, and then we go over here to the next enemy, we fight him, maybe he dies, maybe that enemy comes over, he doesn't. And then it's way slower doing that. You want to group them up and then fight them. If it's a couple enemies in the room, then just leave them alone, unless you actually have to for the objective. Like, there's 3 here, I could have dragged them over there, that's the most ideal thing, but I guess I'll do that here. We're pretty much almost done with the objective, but that's the main bit. You can do this with Boomeranger. I'll show you the example that I was talking about with Ice Age in the next run, and it looks like I didn't really have to deal with Unbridled too much, so that wasn't too bad. So pretty much from here, I'm at room 7. I could just rush with Shadowhunter now, so he's faster. I can just use the Path Painter, and I can move a little bit faster, and you'll go a lot faster if the rooms are like this, because there's less up and downs and it's just way easier to go through, way easier to navigate pretty much. So there we go, we're at the boss room, and then you can just switch back to your Boomeranger for the max damage. And obviously if you don't play these characters, you can swap them out for whatever character that you do want to play, like Draco, Gunslinger, whatever the case is. So we just do damage to the boss and we're ready to go on to the next floor. So please, for the love of God, press E on the portal before you do anything. If you want to do other stuff, wait until this reaches 99 or close to it, and then you can go loot collect or do whatever. All right, so this one is empty rooms. We got Unbridled Fury, the annoying one, which we'll see if we get an example of that. Untumbrel, which is good because they have reduced darkness, so easier to fight. And then Terror 5 is whatever. So pretty much, I will try to take as many enemies as I can in each room, but also I got a really good objective. So what happens is there's one enemy per room. So if you wanted to, you could just fight that one enemy and you're pretty much done. And you could have a friend rush to the boss room, or you can just do this, drag your enemy and tie him together with the next room, so you'll do the thing twice as fast. So there we go, now we're at empty 2 rooms. So I'm gonna skip the platform. There's one on top and then it looks like there's a couple below, not really worth dealing with it. You just want to kind of eyeball it and then give it your best judgment if it's even worth doing that floor. So obviously there's more rooms with just one enemy, and this is where if you're rushing with Shadowhunter, you could just solo it with Shadowhunter. So you can do that and then you can continue rushing as normal. So that's the other thing. So if you have a pretty decent Shadowhunter build, if you have your gear pretty much close to max and same with your gems, you can just do everything with Shadowhunter. And then for the boss, you can go back to Boomeranger. Alright, so far we've been using a lot of Boomeranger and Shadowhunter. That's pretty much going to be the main gist of it, but you can switch to Ice Age, which will be helpful in certain situations, especially when this gets up to Abyssal, but right now we're on Everdark. So now we can take a look at the debuffs. We have some physical resist, magical resist, terror 4. We got the vault room, which is pretty cool. We got Tenebrous 1, they have increased darkness. But the main thing I'm looking for is if they have Gladiator. If you see Gladiator, that means they're going to have more health and they're going to be harder to fight because obviously more HP. And if you tie that in with Abyssal, they're going to be even harder to fight. And then especially at Nightmare difficulty, it just gets worse. But yeah, Unbridled Fury, Tenebrous, Gladiator, it's just horrible to deal with. And then obviously the difficulty, and I don't know, my least favorite is just Unbridled Fury. I hate that one with a passion. And it looks like these ones don't really have many enemies, and I guess the monos are probably not going to have that many enemies. So since I noticed that straight away, this is probably going to have like 1 or 2 enemies. So yeah, just 1 enemy. So you can just stick with Boomeranger if you have that knowledge. If it's going to be a lot of enemies, you want to switch to Ice Age. Ice Age is really good when there's groups of enemies. I will showcase that, but I guess I got really lucky with my objectives here. And I guess since I know the fact that there isn't that many enemies, I could just switch to Shadowhunter. I don't do amazing damage, but it'll just make rushing a little bit easier. So we can kill that enemy, and then I'll have some arrows, as you can see at the top of my head there. So I can use that for this guy over here. So there we go, doing some damage. It looks like it was physical resist, but it's fine. We still do plenty of damage. And we got the last one, like 1 enemy per room. So that's, I just got really lucky with this one. So the monos were extremely on my side. But I'm hoping I get a horrible objective. For once, I'm asking for a horrible objective. I'll see if I end up getting it, so I can showcase the Ice Age situation. All right, so this one is kill 26 creatures. There isn't going to be that many per room, but this is what you can do. So you can group them up with whatever character you want. I don't have movement speed for whatever reason on my Ice Age, so it's going to be a little bit slower, But these ones are also ranged, which is really annoying to deal with, but you don't have to drag them. I'm just gonna drag them. So we got 3 enemies here, and we got a couple enemies here, so we're just gonna keep on bombing them and they will follow us. And I'm gonna ignore the ones underneath because I don't want to deal with dragging those enemies. A octopus over here, octopus squid thing. And the thing with Ice Age is that you can jump up pretty high up. Wait, let me aggro him again. And if I do this, they're gonna group up in the middle there, and then you can just land on them and they'll pretty much get one shot or close to one shot depending on how your Ice Age is. I have 12.1k light. I don't even have an auto use spot active right now, and my gear is 232 for my mystic, and then my gems are max. But I'll see if I can show you guys another example because there isn't really that many enemies in here. So there's 2 here. I will just drag them and then I'll drag them downwards. So we'll do this. And there's some ranged enemies here, which is really annoying, but we'll just drag them over for just, I don't know, having a group. And the thing with this is that you don't want to spend too much time obviously gathering enemies. It's not worth your time. But if you can get a decent group, at least more than 6 enemies, then you can just use your Ice Age and just fight them off like that. So we went from like 20 to 8, so it's pretty good. And like, I don't know, there's really too many enemies in these delves, which is really annoying. I hate that they do this in these, because you have to pretty much fight off every single room, and it's just really dumb. These ones are clams. Yeah, the last few rooms are clams, so I'm just gonna fight these ones. So Ice Age, really good if you have groups. If you're fighting one enemy, you can still do damage, but it's gonna be a little bit slower. And I can pair it with Q and stuff like that. It'll make it a little bit easier. But yeah, once this gets to like Abyssal and stuff like that, and if it's one enemy, you're gonna swap to Boom Ranger. Like right here, I would use Boom Ranger probably, but I'm just gonna stick with Ice Age because I can still do plenty of damage. And then you just swap to Shadow Hunter for the rushing portion. So we'll just go to the boss room. Or you can just stick with Boom Ranger if you have a decent movement speed build on him. So here we go. We're at the boss room, so we'll just fight him off. So the cool thing about these delves is that, or just any delve in general, the moment you beat the boss, you can find out the thing for the next depth. So Abyssal, that's going to be really annoying to deal with. They have increased darkness. And we also have Gladiator, so that's also going to be terrible. And Unbridled Fury. If you guys want to know which ones have Unbridled Fury, just check the trophies over here. So it doesn't look like it has it, but this one is Gladiator, so increased health, damage, and stability. Looks like Unbridled is going to be this Pirate Flyfish. And the more you do these delves, you'll kind of figure out which one's which. And then it looks like this Zephyr Sharkman also has Unbridled. And it looks like this Nautiloid, the Squid, also has Unbridled. So the only one that doesn't is the Crabs. But I have to fight 54 creatures, so I'm most likely going to have to encounter and fight all these things. But like I said, I'll probably just go Ice Age because there should be a decent amount of enemies in the rooms. So I'll just try to, I wish I had my movement speed build on them. I don't know why I don't. It's way better if you have movement speed. And I will just fight these just so I don't have to deal with the ranged enemies too much. But as you can see, I'm fighting Gladiator and Abyssal. And this is the damage that it's looking like right now. You do decent damage, but it depends on how you use Ice Age. You want to make sure they're together like that. And if you land on them with your ultimate, you do a ton of damage. And then if there's like one enemy, you're not going to do that much. So that's the thing with Ice Age. I think you get the point from here. You want to get groups and you want to do damage with the groups. If they're scattered around like this, you don't have your vacuum, just go straight up and they'll just group up right below you. It's kind of like zombies. If you played Call of Duty, they'll just group up down there and you'll do more damage if you land on them. If you're able to. If they're taking away too many pots of yours or block in this instance, then you can just kind of hover and do this. You'll still do fine. And I don't know, I hate dealing with Unbridled Fury, but all these rooms seem pretty terrible. The platform ones I usually just avoid because they're just annoying to deal with, but you can just go ahead and grab as many as you can. Looks like I lost some, but it's fine. So we got the crabs. The crabs are pretty good, and we have another pretty bad room, but just the annoying thing is the Unbridled Fury. But there you go. That's pretty much what you're gonna want to do. Looks like the crabs are pretty easy to fight. I don't really want to deal with the rest of the floor because Gladiator and Abyssal is just horrible to deal with. They just have so much HP, and on top of that, they gain their HP back with Unbridled Fury, so you can see how terrible these delves are. And so far, I showed you everything with solo. If you have a group or if you're playing with a friend, have your friend rush towards the boss room so they can start clearing from either room 8 or room 9. It depends on how easy the objective is. Like if you have to kill a lot of creatures, then I would start at like room 8 or 9. If it's like, I don't know, kill 20 enemies or something, you can have them start at room 9 or something like that. And if it's monoliths, then you can have your friend do 9 and 12. You can do 3 and 6. Or if you are super fast, you know what you're doing, then you can just have one person do 3, 6, and 9 and have your friend do 12 and then just go straight to boss room. It really depends on how you want to do it, but those are the main tips for this video. And like I was saying with the potion, if I didn't have this potion active and if I disabled it, you can see how horrible these delves are because this is underwater, we're in water. So falling is going to take a long time, and you could use the grappling hook, but it's just going to be slow. May as well just use the augment buoyancy potion to keep it consistent because it is going to be way better. Equip it and I can fall a lot faster. and you can just navigate through the delves a little bit better. The only issue with the augment buoyancy is it reduces your movement speed a little bit. That's the only downside, but I'd say in these delves it is worth it. And if you just have max movement speed, use the path painter, then you can go pretty fast. But my ice sage, it does not have movement speed for whatever reason, so I will have to fix that later on. But either way, that's gonna be the main tips for the video. If you have any questions, or if you thought I missed something important, drop it down in the comments down below. And with the new update, we'll have block available. I don't know how the costume material is gonna cost, but if you are able to get it, then it'd be pretty worth it in these delves so you don't get one shot by the clams. I didn't really showcase the clams, but there's the clams that you'll see in the rooms. They will one shot you, and there's the boss that is just annoying because even if you don't damage it, it will still one-shot you, so that's always fun to deal with as well. And as far as other classes go, like I mentioned, you can use literally anybody. It's just Boomeranger is really good, Ice Sage is really good, and Shadow Hunter good for rushing. And also the other reason why you would use Boomeranger and Ice Sage is because if there's a physical immune or a magic immune, you'll have the other option available in case you want to do more damage. There's also another thing in this delve where it reduces your critical hits. You go to like 20% or even negative. If that happens, eventually it'll go back up if you just kind of jump around and then stick around towards the enemies. Your critical hit will bounce back up to 100% or whatever you had it before, and then you can do your damage as usual. Or if it's just one enemy that does that to you, then you can just skip that enemy entirely. If you don't know how the delves are designed, there is going to be 4 creatures per depth, and there's 12 rooms, so just divide it by 3. So like these enemies, for example, there's going to be 3 rooms of just this. There could be 3 rooms of just jellyfish. It's always going to be 3 of something scattered around randomly in these rooms. It could also be a unique thing where it's in order. So you have like 3 clams, 3 jellyfish, 3 of these fly fish, and just something like that. But usually it's just going to be random. And a couple other things to note in these delves, I guess, before I end the video. /delve start is a command. It'll take you back to the beginning. So that is really handy in case you miss some enemies. What the heck just happened to me? But once you get to the beginning, the main thing is just checking the trophies. You want to do a quick glance to see if there's jellyfish. If there's jellyfish and it's not physical immune, you want to locate all 3 rooms that have those jellyfish, because that's going to be an easy kill. Whether it's emptying rooms, that's 3 rooms you can empty very fast, and then you just have to empty another 2, just 2 random ones. Or if it's kill creatures, it just helps out in general if they have them. I guess while you guys are watching, this is a debuff where I lose HP constantly, so we're at negative health regen, so just know that that's a normal thing in these delves. And then I guess look out for other things where it's parched, where you have no flasks, or lifting of the veil where it one-shots you through death defying. But I guess with a new block feature, then I guess it gets negated that way, so it kind of makes that debuff useless. But either way, I think you guys get the point here. If you guys have enjoyed, please drop a like, as it does help out the channel a lot, and consider subscribing. It's free and you can leave whenever you want to. But either way, thank you all so much for listening, watching, viewing, and subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later.